What's up, everybody? It's the Going Nowhere, and today we're going to do another market watch video. A bunch of cards have been revealed recently, and we've got a bit more information about the upcoming sets. So, this is going to influence a lot of the market and what you should be looking to get going forward. So, first things first, the first layer I want to talk about is Boa Hancock. Here's a nice little image of Boa here, in case anyone doesn't know what she does off the top of their head. When you play a character on your opponent's turn, you can draw a card. And then if you have a Dawn attached, when an Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirate is KO'd, it must have 5,000 power. Your opponent then adds a card from their life to their hand. So this deck is going to be really good at burning your opponent's life, unless your opponent wants to swing into your life. So we'll talk about some of those interactions, but to keep in mind, you also need a Dawn on leader, which is going to, if you ever play a leader that requires you to have a Dawn on leader, that changes your curve a lot. And the idea when it comes to playing a character on your opponent's turn is going to be based off around triggers. So this is going to be a very trigger heavy deck, as we've seen with a lot of the cards that have been revealed. The first one that I'd like to go over is this Gorgon Sisters. Its trigger is just to play this card. This card is definitely going to be a must run because it's a 2K, which also makes it just a staple in the deck. It's pretty hard to replace good 2Ks, and it has the activate main of reveal 3 cards with Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates from your hand, and then you can give a Dawn to everything on your board, a rested Dawn. So this card's pretty strong. Even on 6 Dawn, it doesn't seem that strong. Having 5K power is pretty weak, but the idea here is that your opponent isn't really going to want to swing into it, even though they kind of need to swing into it because its abilities activate main. They'll be getting the activate main every turn, but if your opponent decides to try to KO it, they're going to be taking a life. And as I was saying earlier, if you've already played a leader before that requires you to have a Dawn on leader, it's pretty difficult to consistently get that Dawn on leader. This Gorgon Sisters card, and there's been another card revealed that also consistently give a Dawn to leader every turn. The other card that's been revealed is this Rindo. This card is also very, very strong. It's a trigger play this card, so it also will synergize with the leader ability. We'll be able to get a draw. So it'll be trigger, you play a body, then you draw a card, and then it's on KO. You can add a card from your top deck to your life, then take a damage. So the idea this works is when this card is KO'd, you will gain a life and then you immediately take 1 damage. The emphasis on the 1 damage is because it gives you the opportunity to play a trigger, which we'll get into when we look at like something like this card. But even on 0 life, this KO ability could be insane by giving you a trigger opportunity. The other thing to mention is on KO, your opponent is going to take a life also. So there's going to be some really weird sequencing and interactions when it comes to this deck, but I think this card's pretty strong too. Now, overall, I think this deck has a lot of strength because of 2 cards and they're 2 events. And the first one's going to be this one that's been revealed. It's 1 cost counter. Up to one of your opponent's active characters cannot attack this turn, so you can pretty much just stop any attack that turn. That's really, really, really strong. You kind of have to use it in advance. But the other event that I think we'll talk about in a minute is going to be Perfume Femur. When it comes to these OP14 leaders, the ones I'm really high on are the ones that I see having a chance against the current meta, that being Ace and Emu. And if you're a good leader, you could be the best leader of all time, or you could just be a really, really good leader. But if you cannot fight against both those decks, then you're not going to be really viable in this meta right now. So the leaders I want to be focusing on today are the leaders that have a clear chance against those leaders. Now this deck obviously makes your opponent burn a lot of life, which is going to be really, really good. It's obviously not trashing or banishing it, but just making your opponent take life is going to be good. And some of these trigger opportunities, that casino type playstyle, can be really frustrating to play through. Now, the first card I want to talk about, and I would place a huge emphasis on this card, is You're the One Who Should Disappear. Now, the first thing I see when I'm looking at this card is that it's Pure B2. For those who played during Pure B1, there was a period when Pure B1 came out, and a lot of the alts were pretty cheap. And then after a while, once the new year came around, they all kind of jumped up. And that's because and pretty soon, Pure B2 is going to be out of rotation. And people who have their playsets of cards aren't going to really want to trade or sell. And we're going to see a lot of prices go up. Card I remember famously is Gum Gum Red Rock used to be $20 when PRB1 came out. and then it shot up to 70, $80, and then it calmed to 60, and then even recently it was $30 over the summer, and now it's jumped back up to $100. So these alt art events are really, really nice, really, really gorgeous. Now the issue with Gum Gum Red Rock, just let's just say for example, is that it's going to get rotated out this year in April. The thing about this card, now it says block 2, but I would bet my bottom dollar that this is, you can see this card as a block 4 card. Now, not everything has been revealed about block rotation and stuff is going to change. This isn't, at the earliest, this will get rotated out in 2027. But I have a feeling by the time 2027 comes around, this card will receive an updated block number. The reason why I think that is because here are the cards that have the block 4 number right now. These are the cards that have been updated. You'll see a bunch of cards like Curly de Dawn, this one cost Buggy, for example, got an updated block number. But the cards that are most intriguing to me are Gum Gum Rain, Gum Gum Jet Gatling, Six King Pistol, and Bad Manners Kick Course. Now, all these cards have different triggers, but they are all zero cost. Trash a card from your hand, and then it's 3K counter. So trash a card from your hand, and then something could get 3K counter, leader or character. So it seems like, and I talked about this if you saw my last video, when it came to 5 costs, 6K power, draw 2 trash ones, that this is going to be a typical archetype of card that they want every deck to have. Now, these are all the block 1 cards that were zero cost counter events. We have the blue one, the purple one, the black one, and the red one. The green and yellow were coincidentally printed in OP06. So what this means is that I think by the time next year comes around, this one and the green one will get updated block numbers. Um, so I think this is a card is a really good pickup. When we talk about like market watch cards, there's a little bit of extra value to a card that isn't going to be rotated out for a long time, especially when we're comparing this to the other zero cost events. What separates them is how good their trigger is. This one is a ramp. This one is just give something minus 3K power. This one is pretty bad. The trigger really sets them apart sometimes. This one, the trigger reads if you have 0 life, you can gain a life. So you just get a free life, and then you have to trash a card from hand, which sucks. But because the trash from card from hand comes last, even if you have 0 life, you'll still get the life. The trashing from hand isn't a requirement to get the first ability. So that's pretty broken on its own. And it's a really, really, really beautiful alt. I just think, this card, if you get it right now at $24, if you're going to play this game long term, come 2028, 2027, there's the odds of this getting a new alt are slim to none. Alt events are pretty rare, I'd say. And I just doubt, of all the events they can do, they're going to give this one a second alt. So I think this card is super undervalued because it's pure B, because it's going to be a block 4 card, and it's going to be really good in Boa, and it's the best zero cost of all these. So this is a card I would grab pretty fast. Um, you see it's pretty tanked, and I think it's because obviously Enel and some of those decks are in meta. But if you watch my last Market Watch video, talking about OP15, Enel might be making a comeback. This card is the sleeper of all sleepers, I think, right now. This would be my sleeper card of the day if I could pick one. But going on more onto Boa, card that I'm pretty high on is this 3 cost 1K card. It's just a blocker, but it's a trigger. And so you kind of never want to play this card out from hand. Obviously, it's counter. You're gonna need a good amount of Kuja Pirates to fulfill this Gorgon Sisters requirement. So you want your deck to be mostly Kuja Pirates. But this card has a pretty good alt. This guy has a ton of them. It was in some premium collection. So you'll notice with a lot of these premium collection cards, there are people who bought a lot of them. And one of the reasons why I'm high on this card is when Bo was first revealed, it's seen a pretty good spike and it's starting to calm down. For some reason, a lot of cards are starting to calm down, which means people aren't high on these leaders. But I'm very, very high on Boa because of the next card we're going to get to. So I think this card, if you're interested in the alt, obviously you could just get this is its base art, and this is the full art from Pure V. I've had this full art. I can tell you in person, this full art looks really, really good. The trigger just playing a card, playing a blocker and drawing a card is really insane. And can really, I mean, when we talk about a casino deck, Bow is going to be the type of deck where your opponent's going for game, and that when you have that last life, uh, it could completely change the math. Playing out a blocker, gaining extra life. You could gain extra life and then put this where did it go? And then put this boa on life, and then this triggers a blocker. There's so much good stuff here. So this is out of the cards that are out right now. This is probably one of the ones that's I would say is most guaranteed to be played in the deck. And including this card. So there are two cards that are currently out that I think could be played in Boa. This one doesn't have a trigger, but it's one of the best just cards this game has ever printed. Simply because its stat line is 4/6. That's normally a stat line you would see in a vanilla, but it's 4/6 and a blocker. So it's like, okay, this is a power creep card. And then when you realize it's 4/6, it's a blocker that has an on play. Okay, now it's mega power creep. And now the on play has two abilities. It lets you set your top three deck, and you can give Arrested on anything. This card is a do it all card. It's really really amazing. Now this is also one of those cards that spiked in price when Boa first got revealed, and it's starting to tank. And I don't know why. It's made by a very popular artist by Peach Momoko, and this is a really really nice alt. It's locked to the illustration box. Now I understand there were a lot of illustration box volume one, but it's coming up on being a year old, and this card is just really really good. The illustration box was 20 bucks, so I'm surprised this is sitting at 15 right now. I think this card would be really really good in Boa. For the other reason is it gives that Resedon a leader. It fulfills that leader requirement. When looking at cards, it's not just about if the card is good or not, but it's about does the card synergize with the leader ability. And this card I think synergizes really really well with the leader ability. It also is over a 5k body, so it's going to fill that requirement for the on KO. Your opponent will add a card from their life to their hand. So I think this is a card that's really good to pick up, specifically at this price point. I thought about talking about this card in my last video, but it was really expensive in my last video, honestly. So if there was a time to get this card, now would probably be one of the best times. Now this card, I think this card might not go up soon, because I'm skipping over timeout, but to me, it's amazing that one person has 224 copies, and then the lowest listed has 34. This card could keep tanking because there's so many copies out there. If you were someone on TCG Player and you want to list a copy of this card today, you'd probably list it below $14. So I don't see this card going up anytime soon. So we're not rushing for the hills to buy this card. But this card's gorgeous. It's an alt event. Keep in mind it came out pretty recently. But this is one of the best cards in the game, just hands down. Uh, it's one of the strongest cards they've ever printed, but it's leader locked and to archetype that's been mostly dead. It also has a trigger, which is draw one, which is just insane to me. This card does not need a trigger. Its ability is two costs, and then you can make anything unblockable as Seven Warlords leader or character. So you can make a Boa character unblockable, and that card will gain 2k power. So it's really zero cost unblockable, which is insane to me. Uh, if we compare it to other unblockable cards, they don't have this give it plus 2k power ability. And the reason why I think Bo will be really good is because this gives Bo a way to fight Emu and Ace. They're both low life leaders. When we look at some of the let's see if I have it here. This other card revealed we'll talk about. The deck's going to be pretty good at putting them to 0 life. I mean, Emu is a 4 life leader, Ace is a 3 life leader. You're a leader ability away, and maybe, some of your abilities that make opponent trash a life, like this card. Not trash, but take a life. You're gonna be a couple swings away from being able to just spam this card. This card is gonna be a 4 of Boa. It also is Kuja Pirate, so it's gonna fulfill, the search requirements and that Gorgon sister requirement. It has a trigger. I just don't see like a world where this card isn't a 4 of, and it's gonna be super super good. If you've played Rayleigh at all, you've used the jamming technique, which is just no matter how blockered up your opponent is, if they're at 1 life and you have multiple of these in hand, you could just go, 15 at lead unblockable, pass turn, and if you know they don't have game, you just do it again next turn, and you could just keep spamming this. Um, So this card's gonna be a really good pickup. It's a really, really nice, gorgeous card. There's a lot out there, so there's no rush on this card, but and if you think it'll go down, I could see it hitting maybe 13, $12 if you want to be save every penny. This is a good card to get right now. Now, another card that's going to be used in Boa is Kuma. Unfortunately, I don't see this card going down. Um, Even this alt, there's going to be a new alt that comes out in March, which is relatively close to OP14 coming out. Um, but I don't think the base of this card is going to go down. If you've played this game, you've seen SECs get up to crazy prices for, and this card has done the works. This is one of the lowest points for this card. This is a buy now card. They've reprinted SECs one time so far in the Learn Together set. The OP11 blue SEC was reprinted as a common. So there's a slim chance out there this card gets reprinted as a common. There's also the chance it gets reprinted pure V3 if we're thinking that long term. But at least in the short term, this is going to be a very, very meta card when it comes to OP14, EBO3. Yellow, as I was saying, just looking like a very strong color. Cards like this card are going to be really good in yellow. So if you don't have this Kuma now, sub 30 is a really good price. If you've played OP9, you've seen Rayleigh get up to $50 as a SEC. So yeah, I would get this Kuma now. Now the other card I almost forgot to talk about is this other SR that got revealed. It's a 9 cost 10k power. Now, first thing when I see the trigger is to play any 6k or less from your hand. You could potentially play this boa blocker. You can give a Rested Dawn, set your top three, play a blocker. There's gonna be a bunch of good targets to play off this card. And it's a trigger card with 6,000 power or less from your hand. So you could potentially play like Kikanojo. There's gonna be like random good targets to play off this card's trigger. And if you're running as a four of, you're probably not gonna play four copies of this card when we get to the on play. So this card, it being a brick, having that good trigger, I think is really good. And then on top of that, its on play is if your leader is seven Warlords of the Sea, pretty much, Boa, you can gain a life, add one card from the top of your deck to the top of your life, and then your opponent does the opposite. They add a card from their life to their hand. So it's kind of similar to the old Big Mom, except that card would trash a life. But what's really good about this card is it has a trigger and it's 9 cost, so you're still gonna have that one Dawn left over for leader ability, or if you have Gorgon Sisters on the board, uh, you can leave one up for the counter event, etc. This card is all around amazing card. Really, really amazing because we're talking about a deck like Emu. By the time you get to 9 Dawn, you can play this Boa. If you got them low enough to one life, you play this, they go to zero life. The next turn, you're setting up like a Perfume Femur with this. That's going to be uh plus 12. That's going to be 22 elite. Unblockable, stuff like that is going to be tough to deal with for some of those decks. So I think this Boa leader has a really good chance of being good. So I would definitely pick it up. At the end of the video, I'm gonna go over a card that you should be looking out for in OP13. So stay tuned for that, and I think it's gonna potentially synergize really well with Boa. Uh, so we'll get there when we get there. But the next thing I want to go over is this Doflamingo leader. Now, this leader, pretty good leader ability, but the cards I've gotten revealed since my last video have just changed the game for this leader. It's Dawn -1, and you can make your opponent swing into anything. What's really good about this is there are some cards that have really good KO abilities, like on KO, Ramp, and Search. That's Doflamingo Searcher. Uh, but that card is also Dawn -1. I mean, no, it's Ramp and Search, but it's Dawn -1 for leader ability, which means you're neutral. You're gonna Dawn -1 to Ramp one. But there have been some other cards revealed that are gonna make you ramp even more. And when I was saying that, when I'm looking at these leaders, I'm looking how do they have a chance to beat the current meta? This leader got a card to beat the current meta. Now it's this 10 cost, 10k Doflamingo. So we want to try to get to 10 cost hopefully early, at least a turn early. And if we can, or at least going first, a turn early, just ramp one Dawn. But it's on play. We're gonna ignore this first one. I could see it being used in some matchups. It's if you lose Dofi, you can KO an 8 cost or below. But it's on play. This one is also not leader locked. I saw people saying it was leader lock. I think the if your leader is Dofi part is only for this beginning, which means Ploofy could potentially run this bottom part, which is the stronger version of this card. It's up to 3 of your opponent's characters with cost of 7 less cannot become rested until your opponent's next end phase. The reason why this is really good is it targets all of the Gorosei. You can freeze, not freeze, but you can make it to where they can't be blocked or attack um, 3 Gorosei. Even the Gorosei, it runs 3 blockers, right? Sorry, let me back up. It runs 2 blockers. You're going to freeze 3 characters, and they can't be used as blocker either because they can't be arrested. So you're pretty much for that turn, tapping all your opponent's blockers. You pretty much have them blockable that turn. And then they can't swing. You're stopping 3 swings. And this leader already seems like it's going to be pretty defensive with leader ability already. Now, the issue with this card is it's Dawn -3, which means you go to 7. When you start your next turn, you'll be at 9, right? If nothing happens. You can't loop this card unless you ramp. Now, what this card does is it allows you to ramp. You rest the Dawn, and then you add 1 active. So this card is going to have immediate synergy with this card. If you set this guy up early, like immediately on curve, and then the next turn you play this guy, you will have the potential to loop this guy, which would just absolutely crush Emu. I mean, if you shut off 2 blockers, you play a second one, this guy's swinging 10. It's hard to say how good this will do against Ace. It's going to have to use other cards to deal with Ace. Keep in mind this deck has access to 8 cost blocker Katakuri. It has access to the new Rayleigh that's in OP13 that also ramps and has rush. So this deck is, I mean, the amount of good purple cards out there has access to 9 cost Big Mom, which will have you gain a life. It's also a 5/5 life leader. This Dofi has potential. This Dofi, to say it has potential is underrated. Now, the real good combo, we're talking about playing this guy, right? And setting him up. If we play this Doflamingo, we play the Rosie, every end of turn, the Rosie sets 2 Dawn is active, right? So you play him, you Dawn minus, this is in a perfect curve Dofi. You Dawn -3, the Rosie's on board, you're at 7 Dawn, you flip 2 up, and then on your opponent's turn, use one of those 2 flipped up, you rest 1, ramp 1. We're talking big numbers here. We're getting back up there in Dawn. We could potentially loop this, and then we got big swings coming. So these guys are really good. Now, the reason I want to bring up these guys, because I brought them in my last video, is the Doflamingo has I'm not sure. The Doflamingo has dropped in price significantly. In my last video, he was about 40 bucks. It's not going to illustrate it here, but he was sitting at a hard 40. And no one was buying at that price. There was one bot, and slowly more got listed. And now he's sitting at a cool 20 with the new cards that are available. It's like new cards made this, uh, new support made this card tank in price, kind of in half. So I think now's a pretty good time to pick up this alt if you're interested in it. I mean, $20 for an alt is like a pretty standard price, an alt of an SR. We're talking about a really good one. If this Dofi leader is good, this card is obviously going to be a much more expensive, including this Rosinante. The Rosinante pretty much hasn't changed in price at all since my last video, but this Dofi has his SR is still really cheap. But if you were, interested in this alt, now's the better time. Now is the better time, and I could see it start climbing back up soon. I mean, if it was $40 a week ago, I could easily see this being $40 a week from now, especially when more support gets revealed. So that does it for Dofi. Next up, we are going to talk about Sanji. Uh, so the searcher for the Law leader has been revealed, and it's Luffy. It's a Luffy Supernova searcher, but he can't search other Luffys. So the deck might want to move away from using a ton of Luffys. Now, as a replacement, if we're just running non-searchable 2Ks, because the 2Ks I showed in my last video were Luffy's. This Sanji is going to be the better one. He is take a life, and then he gains 2k power, not base power, just gains 2k and 2 Dawn, which is also 2k power. So it's 2 life, and he gets 4k power. The reason why this is really good is because if you use Law's Leader ability to swap base powers, you're making something gain 4k power. So if you swap it with an 8k, that this Sanji will now be a 12k, which is ridiculous for 2 Dawn and being a solid 2k. So many red decks have run this Sanji in the past just because it's a really good 2k. It's really good in particular matchups where your opponent is probably going to starve you. It helps unstarve you. That card to hand is like sometimes a really good benefit. It also helps set up Roger. If your opponent is trying to avoid putting you to one at Roger, a lot of decks will play this. Then like let's say you play this and then you pass turn. Your next turn you play Roger, then you activate main, put yourself to 0, and obviously Law is going to be a deck that runs Roger. So this card I'd be looking at. His prices for some of this alts of this card have, hit crazy numbers, crazy ups and downs. Me personally, I really like this alt. If I had unlimited money, obviously this one would be really good. This gift collection one is also a really good version of this card. So pick up this Sanji if you already don't have the base version. For some reason, it's like a really expensive rare, even though it gets reprinted a lot. But there's some cheap versions of it. I know for a fact these demo deck cards are legal. So if you want the cheap version of it, if you have some of these laying around, for some reason as a rare, it's still this expensive. And if you use in Law, I can see this being a $5 rare, unironically. So pick up this card if you don't already have it, just at least a base version. The next card I want to talk about is going to be Perona. Here's a bunch of alts of the same Perona. It's definitely going to be using Gecko. So I think I just some I should have talked about in my last video. Mainly because it's a 2K. The new Gecko that got revealed plays a 4 cost and trash. They got revealed a new character. It's not too important if we're talking about this right now, but this is a target for it. And then this card is just really annoying for opponents to deal with. It's on play. You can make your opponent trash card from hand while putting out body, while being a 2K. It has some really, depending on your opinion, some really good looking alts. This one is not the alt I'm thinking of. I mean, this is not the card I'm thinking of. Do not buy this card on accident. The way to know if it's the Perona you're looking for is if it's a 2K. So if you don't already have this card, it's an SR from OP6. It's still really cheap. But if you had a strong interest in Gecko and you want to like bling it out for some reason, this OP06 alt is a really good pickup. And then that will bring me to some cards that we talked about in my last video. Kind of want to save these towards the end. So I got like the new cards out the way. This Zoro is going to be a must run in Law. I just can't emphasize enough that if you don't have your copies of this Zoro, you need to get it. It's going to start slowly climbing again, in my personal opinion. It's been printed a bunch of times. It's OP1. OP1 SR is $5. It's pretty funny. There's some really good looking alts for this card, specifically these two, but they're ridiculously expensive. But yeah, definitely get the Zoro if you don't have it. Next up is going to be this Law. I cannot emphasize enough that this Law is going to be a good pickup, I believe, in the Law leader. Its price hasn't fluctuated at all, but definitely get his SR. It seems like this card's place in the deck is not going to change. The deck is even leaning more towards this Law's direction because a lot of the cards they revealed minus your opponent's bodies, which means this Law kind of synergizes well with that. Next up is to be this Kid and Killer. Um, Also talked about in my last video, kind of same idea, except it's going up now. It's starting to finally climb up, I believe. This EBO1 alt is very nice. Has not gone up at all. It's an EBO1 alt, $20. If you did want to bling it out, this is the best version, best bang for your buck. Um, but definitely get some of these. It's in the Learn Together set, so definitely check your Learn Together sets if you don't have it. Now, I think what's most important to talk about, and I think I was really underrating this leader, is going to be Mihawk. right here. I think it's hard to say what leader is going to be the best out of OP14, but Boa and Dofi and Mihawk 100% look strong. They look very, very strong against the current leaders. Mihawk specifically, we'll go over his leader ability. It's not too important for what I'm going to go over, but just to keep in mind, it's activate main. Once per turn, you may rest one of your cards. So you can rest a Dawn, you can rest a stage, etc. You can rest a character. If there's a character with a cost of 5 or greater on the board, which you'll pretty much always have, you can activate 3 Dawn, but then you cannot play any more characters. But that 3 Dawn is going to be used to use more abilities, or it's going to be used to swing out. Now, I wasn't too keen on this leader until these two cards specifically got revealed. Um, which I'm gonna end up saying this leader looks good, so you should get these cards. But why these two cards are good is this Isho, when he is rested, you may add the top card of your life to your hand. If you do, up to one of your opponent's rested characters or stages do not become active. Now, the reason why this Isho is really good against Emu specifically is because if you know your opponent is going to tend on, you obviously have to take a life, which is not the worst thing in the world. He's a 5 life leader, but if you know your opponent is going to tend on with Emu, if you can just stop them from having the ability to use stage, that is insane. That is a huge W. That is amazing. That is amazing. I mean, this Isho is going to completely hurt Emu. What's even to be better is if you set up the Shanks before you play the Emu. Let's say you play Shanks on 7 Dawn, you play this Isho on 9 Dawn, stopping your opponent from playing the 10 Gorsei. Um, they need the stage, and the counterplay to this, let's say your opponent wants to play 10 Gorsei, is for them to not rest their stage, which means on their 8 Dawn, they won't be using stage, which is just going to create a ton of problems for them. I just think this Isho is going to be really good. Let's say they don't rest their stage. You could play a second Shanks, which will also be really good. So there's just going to be some interesting counterplay between Mihawk and Emu. Obviously you have to rest the Isho, but the leader has leader ability to rest the Isho. It also has really good as event that just rest 2 cards and you draw a card, which is insane. And then you can rest like anything that's 7K or less. The deck's gonna do fine with meeting this condition. In fact, it's gonna benefit from this condition. And I just think this Isho is gonna be insane. Now the other really good deck is this. I mean, the other really good card is the Shanks. When he is rested, you can rest one of your opponent's characters. So let's say you're playing against Emu, you play the Shanks, then you rest a blocker. Then, while he is rested, all of your opponent's characters gain or lose 1,000 power. Now, what's really, really broken about this Shanks, this when he is rested will apply to when he's attacking. So you can swing into lead and rest a blocker. And then, it's minus 1k to everything. If you've played Emu against Goldie Roger leader, you felt the power of Shanks Hockey Man's one minus 1k to your board. Him being cheap means you could spam out a couple of these is just gonna put a huge damper on Emu. I mean, let's say they don't rest their stage on a Dawn, and so you don't play Isho. What's amazing is you get to choose. You get to respond to them, right? The Emu, they have to make the tough decision of do I rest stage or not. You could not even have Isho in hand. Let's say they don't rest it, you're like, okay, we pivot to the Shanks. Playing out 2 of these, minus 2k to Emu's whole board, you pretty much just defeat the purpose of them even having Jupiter, which is plus 2k to their board. Technically, not really, but this Shanks, I mean, these 2 cards just hard counter Emu. Hard to say how it will do against Ace, but like cards like Hody Jones and some of the other resting cards that Mihawk is gonna have is gonna be really good against Ace. This leader has a really strong chance of being good. So, with that being said, this ult, used to be like 45 bucks. Kind of not really on the come up. Let's see. Yeah, kind of not really on the come up, but I think I could definitely see this blocker being used. Not as much, honestly, because these are, other big bodies that might be better. But you could potentially play this Mihawk, play the Isho. There's some combos there. Um, he's 6 cost, so it's not a huge deal. Um, But the other card that's important is going to be this Perona. This alt is never going down. And at the same time, this SR is only going up. I don't think this alt is going to hit crazy prices because it's a searcher, but this alt is, going to be good for a very, very long time. It's block three, it's slash, that searches slash, or I mean, if your leader is slash, you can search any slash. It's really good in Zoro, which is really meta deck. It's going to be great in Mihawk. So that goes to say, if you don't have this SR, you need this SR. You need your playset of this SR. And Mihawk looks promising. And I mean, I'll be honest, if January comes around and Mihawk is the best OP14 leader, I don't even want to begin to think how much this SR is going to be. It's going to be an unhealthy price for an SR. It's gonna be really, really, really bad. So it might already be on the come up. It is already at 25.90 sold. Oh man. So this is not good. This is like a emergency buy if you don't have this. Ask people at locals. This is the card to get. Now, after everything's been said, we're gonna go over my bonus card. Don't buy on TCG Player, don't buy pre-release. If we look at Garp, uh, I won't even be able to because his name has a dot. We'll see if I can find him here. Let's go color. This Garp is $50. Do not buy it at this price. But this will be my, uh, if you see someone with this card, go trade for it. If you pull it, you got a W secretly. Try to buy this card this weekend. A lot of people are going to be at pre-releases. A lot of people are going to be opening product this weekend. And it's actually not going to be Garp. It's actually Garp is the setup for the card. If you thought it was Garp, no. The point is, everyone knows why this Garp is good. It's search, if your leader is the leader you needs to be, search top four, grab anything with a 3 cost or more. You could grab Red Rock, grab Blade, you could grab Pudding, and if your leader's multicolor, you can still grab anything of that color. So it's really, really, really good. Just comparing it with this Perona, please be the one. For example, this Perona only searches a green event, which if you're playing a multicolor, that's kind of annoying, right? Anyways, this Scarp is really, really, really good. I think the Scarp is amazing, and everyone else seems to think so too. What people are underrating, and I'll show it here in a second. I guess I'll show it on TCG Player since it's up. Is going to be this. Where are you? Lilith. It's all the way at the bottom. That's so funny. Now, this is already one of the cheapest alt arts in the set. This is $24 for an alt searcher of a good searcher. Obviously not every card is gonna be Prona, but I mean, as going by pre-sale, this Lilith is really, really, really cheap. Now, when this card comes out next weekend, next Sunday, this might be a $12, $13 alt. I think this Lilith is really underrated. The yellow's not too hot, Egghead's not too hot. People are looking at the Bonnie leader, the yellow one, being like, okay, it's not amazing, and they're rolling their eyes past this Lilith. But this Lilith is, search top four like the Garp. Keep in mind, it doesn't need any condition. Like it doesn't need your leader to be Ace, Saba, or Luffy. Search any trigger as long as it's not Lilith. And then its trigger is activate this card, which the Garp is not. Um, and it's a 1/2, pretty normal searcher. This Lilith is really good. This Lilith has counter. Specifically, what's the leader that uh is gonna run a lot of triggers? Boa Hancock. Even this counter event has trigger. 90% of this deck, if not 100%, is gonna be trigger. I do not see why you cannot run this Lilith card in Boa Hancock, which is a really, really good trigger. Because now let's say you're using other triggers that are not Kuja Pirates, like you're the one who should disappear. Let's say you're using Kikanojo. There's a lot of good, just random cards out there that have triggers. Let's say you want to use Nico Robin from OP9, whatever your card is. Uh, Obviously, the Boa leader is going to have a Kuja Pirate Searcher. This Lilith is also going to be really good. We've also seen that a really meta thing now is running multiple searchers. Like Ace is running 8, 10 searchers, in a deck. And the Smoker is running 8, maybe 10, 9 searchers. So being able to run 8 searches in Boa is going to be really good. And this Lilith is going to be a long-term card. If we're talking about OP15, and Nell's going to be good in the future. I mean, this card it's going to be evergreen. It's block 4. You're telling me there's never going to be a good trigger leader between now and the next 3, 4 years? I think this Lilith is like it's going to be. The reason I point out is this Lilith is going to be cheap. It's going to be nowhere near what the Garp is for good reason. But I think this is a buy low now card. This card is inevitably good. A good example of this would be like SEC Sanji. You know, when you read that card, it looks really, really broken. Um, and it was really cheap for a long time. Let's see if I can find it. This SEC Sanji, right? And it's pretty cheap now. But this card was cheap because it got reprinted. But this card was cheap for a long time. But everyone knew it had a good ability. It just needs the leader to make use of it. I mean, this Lilith is it's amazing. Just to be honest, this Lilith is an amazing card. You definitely need this Lilith this weekend. If you pull this, don't be upset. This is a good pull. People are going to compare this Lilith mentally to this S Snake or the Stussy, but this is going to be one of the best pulls this weekend. So that's going to be my sleeper of the next 2 weeks, honestly, is that Lilith. It being block 4. I mean, these are great cards to get, these block 4 cards. And that'll end the video. Thanks for watching. Comment if you have anything else you want me to go over. If you thought it was insightful in any way, let me know. That'd be awesome. Hopefully, at least one of these cards here, uh, caught your attention. It was something you weren't thinking about. And that'll end the video. Thanks for watching.